issue with that is it's going to be missing multiple clauses. All right, it's going to be missing the advice from a lawyer in regards to the proper clauses you need a will. You need in a will. Of course, such as the will myself and Sheikh Mahmoud drafted, it has every single, alhamdulillah, has every single scenario of when a person passes away and how his estate should be divided Islamically. So you're going to be missing those things in a it's called a hologram will, the will that you would write. Also, it becomes a lot more difficult when your representative goes to apply for probate. All right, now it could be contested by multiple people, saying he just wrote this paper 20 years ago. Paper, is not witnessed by anyone, and we don't even know if he wrote it. All right, for example. So, of course, you're gonna run across some issues. You may not, but of course, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala knows. But you may run across some issues if there is a will drafted by a non-lawyer and just write something at home.
So this is why important we say, Wallahi, brothers, make lawyers, especially if you have kids. Doesn't matter how rich you are or poor or whatever. It doesn't matter.
I
Yeah.
think, and
Yeah.
that's why I'll start off with the guardianship clause. That's the most important thing for anybody that has children. That's the guardian. So, okay, yes, the person. So the personal representative is the person in charge of your will. The executor or personal representative, it's the same That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. And majority of the time, they use money from the estate to make sure the travel accommodations are paid for from that. So, personal representative makes sure everything in your will is done according to what you wanted. A guardian's different. The guardian's the person that's taken over the guardianship status of your children.
We are now alive. So the IT just telling me that I'm requesting if we can speak up a little bit
So
because it's
maybe
gonna be
I'll
from
repeat
the
the questions as well now, so
yeah.
people at home could see.
Yes,
Yes,
brother.
brother.
So this is, يعني, as we said, it will take a long, long time. We did that, subhanallah, and we mentioned it in details, in depth, which took around 3 months. So we mentioned all kind of stuff, who gets to inherit and who's not, and different situation. She died and she left a husband, two kids, and a brother or father. She died without a father and just a mother and one kid. She died with this, and this is a kid, and or no children, just brothers and sisters, and then there is no brothers, just all. Alhamdulillah. For the 3 months that we explained that, it is in the will. It's written on the will. So no matter the situation that you will name it, it will be there, and the divides and the answer will be in there, inshallah, and in the will. But maybe we will do virtual mosque, inshallah, fiqh of inheritance to become on Facebook as well, inshallah. Barakallah fi. Allah
Allah
yabarak
Akbar.
fi.
Well, yeah.
تفضل. صحيح. صحيح. هو الاستاذ محمد بتحجز، بتحط اسمك ورقم تليفونك، وهو بيعبيها كل حاجه، وانا بقعد جنبه وبصاين وبنمضي وكل حاجه، وبتخلص على طول، يعني في خلال نص ساعه ان شاء الله او تلت ساعه بيكون كل حاجه جاهزه. So just to translate it for the what the brother said, he said it seems a lot of complicated, but inshallah it's not complicated. All what you have to do is you send your name, your phone number, and the questionnaire through the people hearing us now, inshallah, in online through the social media, and then we will book you an appointment, inshallah, with brother Muhammad and myself, and you will all what you have to do to mention the names and to sign. Of course, you're gonna bring an ID, but this is consider يعني the people here, we have no problem because you can get and sit with us in person. But and this is question, brother Muhammad. What about, let's say, someone in Fort Mac or someone in Calgary or this area. How can he does it
So
virtually?
actually, because of and I want to answer more in depth into your question right now in English. But just before we get into that, there's actually rules after COVID now. So the Alberta government implemented rules where right now I do real estate, for example. I've been signing documents with real estate clients on video conference. Exactly. And then there's a new, I have to swear an extra clause saying that I've seen them on video conference signing these documents because a lot of people, for example, are staying at home for 14 days. So there are new rules implemented. I haven't looked into it in regards to wills. In regards to wills, I haven't looked into it. In real estate, yes, they implemented those rules specifically for signing affidavits. Now, I have to look into it in regards to wills, so I can't really give you the answer right now. I'd probably have to contact the Law Society or ask someone that's done it. I don't think there is anything for wills right now, but I know for real estate that there is. Um, and just to answer your question, I think we're trying to make it as simple as possible for the wills. So, and I can talk to you after about it. But what we're going to do is there's a questionnaire. You can get it online or it's here at the masjid. You fill it out. It's simple questions. You answer it. You give it back to the Jama, to the Al Rashid. And then either myself or somebody here at the Rashid will contact you and confirm you want to do your will. They'll process whatever payment they need to process. We'll draft the will. Then you'll come meet with us for half an hour. We'll review the will together. We'll change anything that I think should be changed. I'll advise you on what I think is appropriate and not appropriate. And then, inshallah, on the spot, we can change the will, fix it, and then sign it according to how you want to sign it. So, inshallah, there's going to be time slots. The time slots are not up yet, but there will be time slots where you can book them. And then, when you come to that time slot, the will should be drafted if you provided a questionnaire beforehand. And then we can review the will together and sign it. Inshallah. Allah.
So الموضوع عندك انت حجم مش هيكون في اي مشكلة ان شاء الله. انت موجود هنا على الشهر القادم ان شاء الله، هتحط اسمك بس، هتسجل اسمك ورقم تليفونك. والمسجد ان شاء الله هيتصل بيك يقول لك امتى الموعد اللي تيجي ان شاء الله عشان تمضي وكل حاجة. كل اللي انت محتاجه انك تجيب الاي دي بتاعك بس.
Oh,
لا، هو الوصية
no,
بالانجليزي بس.
بالانجليزي بس. بس there are places here in Edmonton انه فيك تترجمها بالعربي. Yeah.
نعم.
Yeah.
نعم. إذا حابب إنك تترجمها لحتى البلاد أو شيء، لازم تكون مترجمة معتمدة، والترجمة تتعمل لها نوترايزيشن وكده، والسفارة بس لازم تاخد ختم السفارة عليها من هنا. فالسفارة تختم لك عليها من هنا، وبعد كده بتوديها هناك الأوفرسيز So the brother is saying for how if he made a will here that's in English and he wants to make that will as well overseas, and because somehow we're immigrants here so we know the process, we've been there. So what you have to do is translate it to the language of your country, in this case Arabic, and then you go to the embassy. After you translate it, you notarize it and everything and give it to the embassy. The embassy look to the original and the translation and the notarization, everything, and put a seal stamp on it, making sure, okay, this is it became legal this way. And that way you can, inshallah, send it overseas and they will honor it, inshallah.
And it has to be a certified translation, of
صحيح.
course, inshallah. Yes. So the question is if somebody that's married passes away, of course, their spouse becomes the guardian and vice versa. So if their spouse passes away, they become the sole guardian of the children. And what happens if they both pass away? Does the will cover that? So in regards only to guardianship, yes, it covers for both of you. So in the guardianship clause, it states that if you and your spouse pass away within 10 days of each other, then that person that you chose becomes the guardian. But of course, if you pass away only and your wife is alive, then after 10 days, then inshallah she makes a will. She needs to ensure to make a will that if she, the 10 days, that's correct. So you have to die within 10 days of each other. Yes, yes. So that's a standard guardianship clause. That's correct. That cannot be, I don't know what the maximum days is, but right now I don't think you can change it more than 10 days. There has to be a legal set amount for that. Um, I could look into that more, but I know that that's the standard clause. All right. If Yes, so it's always recommended that both parties prepare wills because what's going to happen is, yes, you'll get covered for the guardianship clause, but you may inherit something from your parents. Your wife may inherit something from her parents. She may have a different estate than you will. And of course, Islamically, when you pass away, your wife will inherit, I believe, well, depending on the situation, one fourth or one eighth, right? The husband one fourth, the wife one eighth. So she's not going to inherit your whole estate, but she's going to have her own estate, and the same thing for you. So both of you need to make sure that you have wills. But when it comes to the guardianship clause, yes, if both of you pass away within 10 days of each other, then that guardian becomes the guardian that you've chosen. But if it's not within 10 days of each other, inshallah, your spouse will have a will if you do pass away, and she'll make sure that she's chosen a guardian if she passes away. All right, then there's no 10-day limitation anymore. It's just if she passes away. That's correct. Yes, brother. Yes. Yes. So the question for everybody at home is, what if two people's names are registered on, for example, a house or a bank account? So here in Alberta, when you purchase a house, for example, you and your wife, it's registered in two different ways. All right. One of them is if the other person passes away, the whole house is only under that one person left. All right. Now, the second way of registering a house, all right, is if you pass away, then 50% of that property is still for your estate, and then a probate application will be needed to either transfer everything to your wife or to sell your half of the property. It depends on how you register your house. That's a house an example. And same thing for bank accounts, same thing um, for other assets that are registered between two people, such as businesses. So you need to see how your house is registered. There's one thing called tenancy at will, and the other one's joint tenancy. So it depends which one you registered it. So one is everything just transfers to the other person if you pass away. And the other one, no, your half stays for your estate until your estate is divided. All right? Does that make a bit? And most people don't. So you'd look at so the question for everybody at home is, how do you find out? So you have to look at your certificate of title. So your house, you got a pink sheet, all right, when you purchased your house. And that sheet has, who the owner is, your address, the legal address, and what's registered on the house. Beside your name, I believe it's on top of your name, it will say joint tenant or tenancy at will. It'll say one of them. All right, so if it's tenancy at will, everything just goes to the other person. All right. So you need to check your certificate of title. Everybody, depending on what lawyer they used or when they've done it, it's going to be different. No.
Sorry, requesting if you can speak
Speak
louder,
louder.
inshallah.
I will.
Yes, brother.
Yes, brother. So the question is, can one of the beneficiaries be the representative? And the answer is yes. So a majority of people would pick their older child, to be the personal representative, or their spouse, and those people are usually a beneficiary. Islamically, they always are. So yes, a beneficiary can be your personal representative. Yes. So I can't really answer that question because you're not putting it in the will. So is that person going to be your children's guardian? So that person becomes the guardian. Then he could the guardian. That's correct.
But how's the government know? Like they
And,
don't.
and like I said
Yeah.
earlier, yeah,
No, 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 none of that.
the government will only know what's happening to your children if somebody says, "Hey, I don't want these children traveling to, for example, Egypt." All right. Majority of the time, they will not get involved. No, 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 no.
So, okay, we do have a question. From Facebook. Um, we have three now. Okay, so Brother Muhammad, from Facebook, they said, can both spouse have one will?
No, there's no joint wills.
Can
Each
you repeat
spouse,
that louder, please?
sorry, so there's no joint wills. If you're drafting a will, your spouse is going to have a separate will. Because again, you do not have the same estate. When somebody passes, Islamically, in most situations, your wife's going to get 1/8. That's a different estate than the husband. The husband's going to get 1/4. So the estate is always going to be different. The husband may inherit from someone. The wife may inherit from someone. They're going to have different estates. All right. So no, there's never been a joint will. It's always going to be separate wills.
Right. So the second question, I believe this is for me. How does an inheritance of grandparents pass generations to grandchildren? In other words, if a father has the right to his parents' inheritance but passes away before his parents do, does his rightful inheritance go to his children? How does this look in the form of a will? Should it belong in a will? So the person asking about al-wasiyya al-wajiba. So there is a grandkids and the grandparents are still alive, but these children, their father died, which is the son of the grandparents. The grandparents, yes, they can include with a clause that money it should not exceed than 1/3 go to the grandchildren. They can do that. So the grandparents, they can do so and put it on the will because usually they're not inheritors, because if there is other kids which are their uncles يحجبوه, that means they ban them from getting any inheritance from the grandfather. So الأبناء يحجبوا أبناء الأبناء. So in English, my dear brothers, the grandparents, yes, they can include that in a will with the term it should not really exceed 1/3. Even the right of the parents, if he was alive and he was in inheritance, even half, it should not actually exceed than 1/3, because this is, again, it's in the wasiyah, not the right of inheritance.
And to add on to that, on a legal point of view, um, so what Sheikh Mahmoud is saying, you can give 1/3 of your estate to somebody that's not already inheriting you under Islamic Sharia law. Now, how we do that in our will is we add a specific, it's a clause called a specific bequest. So what that is you're saying, I want to give, 1/3 of my estate to my grandchildren to be divided equally between them. All right, that's an example. So there's always a clause you can include in your will. It's a specific bequest clause of what you want to do with 1/3 of your estate. Now you can give it to charity. You can give it to the masjid. You could do whatever you need to do as long as Islamically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sheikh Mahmoud, it's to somebody that's not inheriting you. And it's in the questionnaire as well. It'll have a specific bequest clause of what you want to do with 1/3 of your estate.
Right. So, yes, brother. So just we were asking Brother Muhammad to talk more about the booking of the appointments here in the masjid or online or something. We wanted to get in depth of that. But you have a question regarding? Okay.
Yes, brother.
So,
So let me clarify the question just to make sure I understand it. So the testator, before he passes away, writes on a piece of paper that his daughter, uh, yeah, before he, okay, so before he passes away, he transfers the house into his daughter's name. All right, and then he passed away, and now what should the daughter do? All right, so legally, again, it's going to depend if a personal representative got involved. All right, so let's say he has a son, and that son applied to the court, said, "This was my dad's house, and I'm applying that legally under Canadian law. He's gonna get half, and his sister's gonna get half." So he'd apply to the courts to get half of that house, and he'd need to prove that it was inheritance from his dad. Now, Islamically, Sheikh Mahmoud could get more into that.
So Islamically, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, yes. So regardless, he's hello. So again, the court will decide upon that. That son, for example, would need to apply. Is this on? Just clarify.
Yeah.
So
So
that son would need to apply to the courts and say, "I'm entitled to a portion of that property." All right, that property was transferred into my sister's name a week before my dad died. Right, but if it was 10 years before her dad died, it's going to be a lot more difficult for the son to get a portion of the property. So it's kind of every case is different, right? I can't give you a yes or no answer. And Islamically, that would be on Sheikh Mahmoud to answer.
so we apologize for the brother online that we have a problem in the sound, but inshallah we promise another حلقة final one might be after Isha. We'll announce you inshallah. We'll announce for it. But now inshallah we're just gonna take question from the brother who's here, and later on inshallah we'll tell you exactly what is the time, how would you book an appointment inshallah to do your will and everything.
I think it's working now.
Working now. So Islamically, the question that you said, brother, a father transferred the house to the daughter, like giving her as a gift, or how is it? Sorry, for the sake of what? Convenience in what? So the house is for the father. Okay, so when the father dies, the in his inheritance in his will it will be divided according to Islam, which is not going to be 50-50 by his daughter and his son. So two shares for the boy, one share for the woman. However, if he gave it to her as a gift and he gives the while he's alive, and she already got the keys and it's her house now, and maybe he give his son like his business or whatever like that as a gift, that is fine. That is fine. But if he just put it in her name, hey, this is mine, then that becomes inheritance, and it has to be according to Islam how to be divided.
Hello, 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 hello.
right, so with a quick inshallah, we're gonna just tell you again uh, how how would you contact the masjid, how would you send your name and so on, and how would you inshallah contact the masjid to put your name and to book an appointment inshallah. Will Brother Muhammad inshallah will.
So inshallah, we're gonna try to make it as simple as possible for you to be able to draft the will. Um, we're either gonna have, and we're gonna have both, the questionnaire, a hard copy here at the Jama, or we're gonna have the questionnaire online. You can pick and choose which one to use. You would fill out the questionnaire, contact the Al Rashid, and they'll either contact myself or someone else to help you fill out the questionnaire, and then you will book an appointment. When you book an appointment, myself and Sheikh Mahmoud will be there to review the will with you and then sign the will off. Of course, the Rashid will keep a copy, I will keep a copy for my office, and then of course you will have the original with one or two copies. Inshallah. Yes. Well, you're gonna know him somehow, so that's yeah, yeah. So it's just, not necessarily. You don't even need to give an address, but it's preferred just so it's easier for the personal representative. Yeah, of course. So you would put Edmonton at the time being. Let's say he resides in Edmonton or Manitoba. You could put the province. You could put the country. Right. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
تفضل يا حبيبي. So Islamically, you should have a will. So Islamically, you should have a will. And then this will say whoever is your personal representative or executors of the will. But let's say someone he died, his family, when they take over, they the one if they are really caring for how to be fair and during for an Islamic inheritance, they should contact the masjid. So they contact the masjid, and then the imams or something help them with the.
So I think Sheikh Mahmoud, what the question was is, on an Islamic point of view, how should someone choose the executor or personal representative?
So
So what criteria? Someone you trust, a family member.
well, someone definitely you trust. It does not have to be a family member. Someone you really trust, and he's your close to. He knows your assets. He knows what you have. He knows, your best friend, as we say, and it gets to be more than one. So that means this person, la qaddar Allah, something happened to him or whatever. Put if this is not available or he couldn't come, and that will be, and this is in the will as
Yes.
well.
So legally, you're always going to have more than one personal representative. You have to have an alternative. You have to have just in case that first person passes away, or he chooses not to be your personal representative. Because when you when you choose a personal representative, you have to make sure that that person wants to be your personal representative. So right now, for example, your brother, you could put me as your personal representative, all right? But I'm not going to know anything about you. So do I want to be your personal representative? Right, so you have to think about it that way. You need to make sure it's someone that wants to be your personal representative.
And tell him, and leave a copy with him. The good thing, inshallah, here when you do the will through Al Rashid here, alhamdulillah, we make a copy of it and we put it here to make sure that everything you want to do is honored. And some people they write, I want this person to pray on my janaza, to lead the janaza. This person to wash my body when I die. I wanted this. Some people they wanted make sure this amount of money go for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this way. And then so here in the masjid, before even we wash the body, we see we open the will and we see what he wants, and we make sure inshallah to contact the executor or the personal representative, and then we tell them Allah his will, so on and so forth, and he will take care of the rest inshallah. So here, alhamdulillah, in Rashid, you will be an extra step careful, inshallah, and we make sure that the will be exactly as you wished. الثمن. الثمن إن كان لها فرع وارث يعني. نعم. نعم. هو أولا بص، هو الوصية لا وصية لوارث، يعني إذا أحدهم يرث لا تجعل في الوصية كذا، ولكن هي حقيقة وحكما تمتلك نصف البيت. طالما هي حطت 100,000 والزلمة حط 100,000، فهي لها نصف البيت، فهي حقها في نصف البيت تاخده. بنقول ايه؟ تاخد حقها ناشف، نص البيت كده هي تاخده. ثم بعد ذلك لها الثمن فوق هذا، لأن النصف الآخر هو من الميراث. هذا إن كان لها صفة. نعم، إن كان هي اشترت البيت هذا وهذه له، وهي فزوجها له النصف، النصف وهي لها النصف. فبعد نصفها وبعد حقها بعد ذلك هي تأخذ أيضا من حصته لحقها الشرعي. مم. طبعا إذا كانت. يا 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 صحيح صحيح. هو حبيبنا هو سأل بالضبط إن كانت تعمل وهي حطت ما زي ما الرجل حط، هو حط 100,000 وهي حطت 100,000، هي لا نصف البيت. طب هنفترض إنها حطت 20% من البيت فقط، يعني كان دخلها بسيط وما قدرتش تحط في ثمن البيت غير 20%، ذن في ال20% تاخذ حقها منه، ثم بعد ذلك لها الثمن إن كان لها فرع وارث. مم. تاخذ بقى حصتها الثمن فقط. يعني هذا لا، يعني لا تحسب هذا انه هو يقول والله وهذا شيء سبحان الله يعني يندى له الجبين، خصوصا في مسائل الطلاق او كذا. احيانا تقول والله لا، القانون يعطيني النصف من كل كذا، واحنا نعيش في امام الله سبحانه وتعالى والجنة والنار، ليس هناك كما تقولين حاجبي امام الله سبحانه وتعالى. ليس هناك حق الا ما فرضه الله. هذا هو. الله سبحانه وتعالى يقول ولا تركنوا إلى الذين ظلموا فتمسكم النار. هذا فليس لها إلا الحق الشرعي الذي فرضه الله سبحانه وتعالى لها. إن تعدت على غير ذلك بأي وسيلة بقى، كان عندها مثلا المحامي مشهور أو كذا، أو أخذت من حقها أو فعلت من كذا، هذا أمام الله سبحانه وتعالى. حتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو يبين قد يكون أحدكم ألحن بحجته من صاحبه وهو يحتج، فإن حكمت له فقد اقتطعت له جزءا من النار والعياذ بالله. فلذلك لا، إن كانت تعمل وإن أعطت في البيت وإن ساعدت في كذا فلها حقها طبعا، ثم بعد ذلك تأخذ من الميراث. إنما إذا لم تكن تعمل وكذا فليس لها إلا ما فرضه الله لها. لذلك يسمى سبحان الله علم الفرائض. هذا هو الذي أنزله الله سبحانه وتعالى من فوق 7 سماوات ولم يجعل لنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في ذلك سلطانا. So to sum up what the brother said in English, he said here, what if the men and the woman are working and both working, and she paid half the house and he paid the other half, and then he passes away. How come she only have 1/8? Because the kids as a mirath and inheritance. If she owes half of the house because she worked and she paid a house 200 grand, she paid 100 grand and he as well paid another 100. When he dies, she get half of the house for her because this is her right, half of it. The other half, she will inherit 1/8 of his other half. So 1/8 of the remaining, which is the other 100,000 or whatever the house will be by this time at the market. So it should be divided according to give every rights to its owner, and then after that according to Islam. And of course, if he has a debt, if so on, this is all comes out, and it looks if he wants to make anything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his wasiyah, for yatama, for orphans, for the masajid, whatever, it should be honored. The rest, it will be divided according to Islam. وإياك. من مصر يا حبيبي؟ اسكندراني ماشي. Is it optional?
Yes. So the questionnaire asks, have you performed Hajj? And it's optional to insert it in your will or not. So what we do is I insert a clause in the will saying I have or have not performed Hajj.
No. So, for
So
instance, you can, Islamically, what you can um, give, let's say, from your wealth, I wanted to give this much for a person, and tell him if I died, yeah, and I didn't perform, but make sure this person performed Hajj. Either or, inshallah. If you can name here and you can tell them, Wallahi, I want someone to perform Hajj on my behalf, and this is the cost of Hajj if I died or something, make it in your wasiyah, and inshallah the institute and the masjid will perform that for you. But they, of course, they know that if they send in someone, they have to send someone who already did Hajj. Yeah, so حج عن نفسك ثم حج عن شبرمة. نعم.
yes, that's correct.
For that.
So the brother's asking here, what is Schedule A? Schedule A is every single scenario that's going to happen, of course, when you pass away, and how your assets, your estate, is going to be divided.
So one of the things that we mentioned as well in there, and it might confuse a lot of people, when someone dies and he only left a wife, no kids, no parents, no brothers, no sisters, no cousins. So just from there. So that his wife, will she inherit everything? A lot of people they think yes, no. She will only have one fourth. What about the rest? If he doesn't have other relatives further than cousins and poor, it can goes to them. Otherwise, it will go for Bayt Mal al Muslimin. In this case, from a place where the Muslimin that they deserve the zakah, they come and they will help, which is the Islamic centers here. And then those, so it goes directly to again to an Islamic center. The rest, no. So she doesn't have no. So Jazakumullah khairan, brother, for attending me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. However, mashallah, we took over an hour. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward brother Muhammad, as mashallah he's keep putting hours and hours to make sure that our Muslim brother with an aim and so on. So make sure, inshallah, to be part of it. Jazakumullahu khairan. Any message, brother Muhammad?
And if anybody does have questions for me, you're more than welcome to contact me on my phone number, on my email, which are provided, or if you Google my name, of course, you'll get my contact information.
Can
as
you
well.
repeat, please, the office number and your
So the
email?
office number would be 780-439-7700, 780-439-7700. So if you do have any questions, call that number, and inshallah, if I can't answer, leave your number and name, and I'll give you a call back.
جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والحمد لله رب العالمين وإلى مجلس آخر إن شاء الله والسلام عليكم.